So, Attorney General Merrick Garland grilled by Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee this week. Garland insisting the DOJ is down the middle, by the book, but do the facts actually support that statement? Joining us now, distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. We also have joining us former prosecutor, constitutional law and attorney, as well as Newsmax contributor Amir Benno, and our special guest in studio, Brianna Lyman, with us here in studio. Thane, I want to get to you first on this. Garland seemed to dodge a lot of the more pressing questions for Republicans, frustrating for many of them on that Hunter Biden investigation. What do you think of his testimony? How did Garland do out there?
John, first of all, his look, his manner, he seemed utterly mystified by almost every question that he received. He did not seem like the man in charge of the Justice Department. He seemed almost smugly indignant, like, why are you asking me this? I used to be a federal judge. No one ever impugns my integrity. Remember how many of the Democrats wanted to remind the world that he had been a federal judge and no one impugned his integrity? Well, though that integrity is very much in question now, and you need to respond to why so many millions of Americans believe that there's a two-tier system of justice. Exhibit A, right? The special counsel that he assigned in connection with the Joe Biden documents case, where is he? Where'd he go? We know all about Jack Smith. We don't know about the other one. So did you assign it, or did you tell him, I'll give it to you, but it's merely window dressing. I don't expect you to do anything. And secondly, one question that I thought did not come out, the issue is not why did you decide to give David Weiss special counsel status? The question is, why did you wait for David Weiss to come to you and ask for it? Didn't you at some point realize that the Hunter Biden matter required the appointment of a special counsel? Why is it that you waited until David Weiss came to you? If you were an activist AG, you would have recognized the problem on your own.
Yeah, it was almost like he had no knowledge of anything, which was so bizarre. I want to get to this moment, though. Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson pressed Garland on his involvement in the investigation. Let's watch real quick.
Have you had personal contact with anyone at FBI headquarters about the Hunter Biden investigation?
I don't recollect the answer to that question. I would not interfere with Mr. Weiss.
So you have not, I'm just under oath today, your testimony is you have not had any discussions with Mr. Weiss about this matter?
Under oath, my testimony today is that I promised the Senate I would not intrude in his investigation.
So, Amir, that right there was a pretty telling moment in exchange. What did you make of that situation? Did he potentially perjure himself?
I think he's pretty careful about this, and I think he insulated himself with David Weiss so that David Weiss didn't have to go directly to him, but the message was clear to David Weiss that what the marching orders were with respect to Hunter Biden. Now, we knew this was going to happen the second that they appointed a special counsel. A special counsel, as Thane correctly noted, should have been appointed early on, but this allows Merrick Garland now to say, look, you can't ask me questions about this. We have a special counsel. They have to proceed with their investigation independently. I'm not going to intrude, so ask that person the question. And then if they try to bring in David Weiss is going to say, I can't talk to you because we don't comment on an ongoing investigation. So they have really done, sort of the standard job of walling off this investigation from inquiry from Congress, which is unfortunately not good for transparency for the American people.
Brianna, what did you make of the testimony, and where do you think that this goes from here?
Well, I think what was really concerning is that Garland testified, and he said that then Attorney David Weiss didn't have, or prosecutors at least could refuse to cooperate with David Weiss. But then he's given other testimony in other instances in which he says that David Weiss has the full authority to bring charges. So first the question is, which is it? And then the question is, why is Attorney General Merrick Garland not sure about that? And does that lead Americans to believe that this is not a serious investigation being conducted by Weiss?
And he does continue to say that Weiss has the sole authority. I want to get to this moment here with Jim Jordan. Let's watch.
Quote, Mr. Weiss has full authority to bring cases in other jurisdictions if he feels it's necessary. That was your response, Attorney General. Only problem is he'd already been turned down by the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia, Mr. Graves. So he didn't have full authority, did he?
No one had the authority to turn him down. They could refuse to partner with him. They could not.
You can use whatever language. Refuse to partner is turning down.
Thane, from a legal perspective, how do you think that Jim Jordan is going about this? Do you think that he's doing this the right way? Is he putting him in a situation where he has to eventually give up some knowledge of what he knows?
Well, look, John, Jordan knows that the world saw two whistleblowers. That means to two agents and investigators on the ground. The people that actually conducted the investigation were thwarted and stymied at every turn. Their testimony was very compelling, that each time they met with a different prosecutor, whether it was in Delaware or Los Angeles or Washington, they were told no, right? So who are we going to believe? Are we going to believe the titular head of the Department of Justice, who stands there and saying, I'm not involved in this at all, everybody acted independently? Or are we going to involve the people that was trying to get subpoenas, trying to speak to witnesses and get testimony, and in each moment were thwarted? I think in the end, the whistleblowers were far more compelling in their testimony than the Attorney General.
Brianna, do you think that there'll be more charges coming for Hunter Biden? I mean, we do know that Weiss brought these gun charges forward, the felony gun charges, but do you think that that may have just been a way to, okay, I've done something, but he says that we're still looking at other things. Do you expect that more charges could come?
I hope so. I mean, the charges that we see now, those insulate President Joe Biden, because no matter how deep you dig, I highly doubt a gun charge will lead you back to Joe Biden, whereas charges about FARA, tax fraud, that could lead to the president himself. And, you guys just mentioned Matthew Graves. This is a man who donated to the Biden campaign. He was appointed by President Biden in 2021, and then he allegedly refused to cooperate to bring charges. So I don't know if there's going to be any kind of honesty in this investigation and potential charges.
Amir, I want to get your reaction to this story, too. The indictment of New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. Charges for Menendez and his wife include conspiracy to commit bribery, conspiracy to commit honest service fraud, and conspiracy to commit extortion. When the FBI searched his home, they found a stuffed jacket with $100 bills in his closet, gold bars. This is something out of a movie. What goes through proving the government's case here? Should Menendez resign? This is a story that, I mean, it's got all kinds of tales, but I want to know what you think of how serious these charges are and what would his defense be in this case?
Well, I think the charges are very serious. Anytime you've got public corruption, it's something very serious. I would say that we need to hold off on judgment until he's had his day in court and been able to defend against these charges. It's interesting how the DOJ wants to gag President Trump from protesting his innocence in his cases, but yet the left-wing media will go full-fledged right now, and not just the left-wing media, but everybody, saying he should resign, Menendez should, he's guilty, even though he's just been accused. Listen, he was charged before with this, similar crimes, obviously not similar facts, back in 2017. The question is this an official act that he did in exchange for money or property? If it wasn't an official act, then it wouldn't fall into the narrow definition that would give rise to the charges here. He also has a potential defense under the Constitution on the speech or debate clause, insofar as he's being accused of having essentially lobbied on behalf of constituents in exchange for receiving some benefits. So does he have defenses? Sure he does. If they're proven, is this a serious crime? 100% in that circumstance. Should he be removed? Yes, he should. But in the interval, we should give everybody the presumption of innocence and wait to hear the evidence in a court of law.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Amir Beto, thank you so much. Thane Rosenbaum, appreciate you coming on. Brianna, you're going to stick around. We got more topics to get to. Happy Sunday to y'all. Coming up next, the UAW strike